Tēnā koutou katoa. Nau mai hana mai, welcome to SOUNZ Centre for New Zealand Music. My name is Tony Huata, and I'm from the East Coast nations of Ngāti Kahungunu, Rongo Whakaata, and also from around the world, from Lebanon, Scandinavia, I was going to say Italy, Irony, and welcome everybody to this wonderful questions and answers live session with Jerome Kavanagh. With great respect and much acknowledgements, we are very lucky to have him here with us today. Before we get into handing it over to Jerome, I'd just like to open with a quick pau about acknowledging our heavenly regions, our earthly regions, with my grandfather's name, Taonga, which means to pierce. This is a wonderful porotiti gifted by Alistair Fraser, and for me, as a name of today, it's called koutou oro atua. Thanks to Jerome. Te o kanga mauri ora ki te rangi, te o kanga mauri ora ki te whenua, te mai oha o te ngākau, ko koe te whanaunga, whiti aroha, whiti ora e. Kei a koe te wā, Jerome.
Karana, 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 ki arangi nui e tui o nei, karana, karana, kia wawa tūnuku e tā kotoa ke nei. E rarau ngā toko ia ngā tangata e putanga riki, putanga tau i rā ki rapa ia i tara kupu matua ngā tāne ngarongo ki ngā hau tapu a tā whiri mā te a kia re ua. Ue whiti mai te rā. Te tangi o tūtu, tangi moke moke, tangi mana wārau katau e. Te tangi ai o a hine pū te hui, pū te ai o kei runa, kei raro, kei woho, kei roto. Pū te ai o kei runa tātou katoa i tēnei wā, hei waka hui hui, o te kaupapa nei. A kei te mihi, ti hei wā mauri tū, ti hei wā mauri ora, ti hei wā mauri aroha e. Kia ora mai tātou. Thank you so much to the SOUNZ whānau, to Tony and the SOUNZ whānau for this beautiful gathering here today. Ko Jerome tōku ingoa, he uri ngā mōkai pātea, hine manu ngā te pake huna mōkai, whiti kaupeka, tama kōpiri, me rātu ngā hapuapu o te rohenei o ngā rangi tikai te awa, aorangi te maunga tapu, rohene te pai maunga, kei te mihi, te taha tōku kraua, no Maniapoto, Matakore, ki te hiri, marae. So kia ora, my name's Jerome, and I'm from the tribes of the nations of Kahungunu as well, just like Tony. Emiko and kia koe te whanaunga. And that's on my grandmother's side, Tūwharetoa as well. And then on my koro side, on my grandfather's side, I go over to Maniapoto, to the west coast there, all the way down to Te Hiri and the realms of Raukawa. So yeah, that's me. On my father's side, as I've mentioned in some of the videos, if you've been watching, from the Kavanagh clan, and the Kavanagh is the Gaelic reo, and then that gets translated into English into Kavanagh. So that's my sort of complete whakapapa. Māori on my mum's side and Irish on my father's side, and that makes a Maorish. So kia ora. And, just a massive thank you to the SOUNZ whānau. It's been amazing working with you all, and thank you so much, Tony, for your vision and your aroha ki te kaupapa. It's been beautiful. So ngā mihi ake aroha.
Oh, thank you, Jerome. I mean, we've been very blessed to have had you share your knowledge, share your pūkenga about Taonga Puoro, share 11 videos that SOUNZ have been very proud to present, your mihi. So thank you so much for that. Over these past 3 months, we have released those videos. We have a lot of questions for you today, and some from external composers already. And but first of all, I'd like to start off with what sparked your interest in playing and healing properties of Taonga Puoro, and how did the journey with Taonga Puoro start for you?
Oh, kia ora, Taini. What sparked me off was my grandmother shared with us some koutou that we had in our whānau, my nan and also one of our aunties. So we were, I was only about 15 or 16 at the time, and these koutou were sort of presented to us one summer's day in the backyard there. We were sort of playing rugby with the cousins in the backyard, as you do, and sort of being like a smaller cousin, I was always getting hammered or running away, and so yeah. And then my auntie came out with these koutou, and sort of we didn't really know what those were. Those at that point, we sort of saw them in the the cases in that, but didn't really know what they were until we could hold them, and then. For some reason, I just knew to bring it to my mouth and to blow through it on a certain angle. And then not very long after that, I could get a sound. A sound was coming. So, and then they were made from tōtara, these old ones. And I could feel the oro, or the vibration of that rako in my hand as well. So it was quite as anybody who's picking up koutou for the first time, or puoro, and then they finally get a sound, it's a real buzz, and so that's really what sparked me off. And then as far as the healing component, it wasn't until I was in my early 20s and was having a real tough time, as lots of our rangatahi do, really just trying to find my place in the world, I guess, and so I crashed and I burned, and then ended up going into depression and suicidal sort of state. A few attempted suicides, and and then part of it was that I went into the mental health system. I felt quite aroha from my whānau. Didn't really know what to do. It wasn't a common thing really back then, suicide, and luckily part of being in that system, even though it's has a lot of challenges and it's not always suited to all people, was being on this medication, which made me feel like a zombie most of the time, and I was completely out the game. But one of our whanaunga in Wanganui, Royce Ponga, he would come to see me every week and take me into the ngahere, and so that's where the switch happened for me, because I really reconnected back with the pūtaiao and the sounds of the ngahere, right down to even the branches rubbing against each other, so sort of making music. And to me, I started to tune into that orchestra of nature, and through the guidance of Royce, and who's still doing that work today, and does a lot of mihi for our people. So I really have to stop and thank him, because what happened in there, in that reconnection with the pūtaiao and the ngahere, was a awakening or a remembrance of those koutou. And so when I eventually got better, part of my therapy was to start creating those puoro. And of course, I can't not mention Matuahirini Melbourne and Richard Nuns and Brian Flintoff and all those beautiful whānau, some who are tupuna now, that had revived around that time, or before that time, and had revived Taonga Puoro. So there was a CD, I think I might even had a tape of Matuahirini's waiata, and so that was another part of the inspiration, was to look at this little book that was released from Matua Hirini and Richard and the whole Haumanu whānau. And that was released through the Ministry of Education. I think it was a whare kura book for our kura kaupapa kids.
Wow.
And that was one of the first books I saw, which just had really simple pictures and illustrations of Taonga Puoro. So I would look at that book and attempt to make those puoro, which was, just in I guess the whole expression mihi a te mahi, absorb yourself in something, like work or art or music. And that's how I started my journey in healing myself, or being healed through the music, or being healed through the culture. So I locked myself away in the shed for about a year. I went into quite a reclusive mode, and really enjoyed making and learning to play those instruments. The third part of that was really support from my whānau, because there wasn't really much known about Taonga Puoro even at that point, and especially not in Mairohe. And so, sometimes I'd come out like with my pūtorino and which I got given from a kraua in Tūrangi at the time. I wouldn't even know how to play it, and I'd be showing my whānau, and I'd sort of try and show them, this is what it sounds like, and get a little weenie sound in there, sort of like, that's sort of quite encouraging, and not knocking me off my little pedestal. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, ngā mihi ki a koe. I know that it's been inspiring to just reconnect with all the videos that you shared with us and shared with everyone that has seen them or yet to see them. And it's been quite an inspirational journey, hearing your journey and how you've come to Taonga Puoro. Obviously, within our current times, during our COVID rāhui, you were in America. 20 plus shows were cancelled. Luckily, somebody said to you, hoki atu ki Aotearoa, go back to Aotearoa before everything gets locked down. You came back, you went into 14 days isolation. And then that was in your whanaunga's house in Auckland. And then that's where you did our wonderful videos that we've been able to share. And then after that, you moved to Kahungunu for a little bit and did your introduction videos there in the Ngahere. And then now you're in Otaki. Your feet have landed in Otaki, Ngāti Raukawa. We're just wondering, how was the isolation for you, and do you thrive on interacting with others or in solitude? And what energizes you creatively?
Yeah. The lockdown was that was pretty out there. Like, firstly, I wanted to come home, but then it was sort of decided by the whānau it wasn't a good idea that I come back, because I'd been in the States. And so, it was, usually when you come home, you go straight home, and that's, whakaokiki tō maunga tapu, and go back to your ancestral mountain and be cleansed and all that sort of stuff, visit the river, have a wash, but I couldn't do that. Because we're in a pandemic now, and that was upon us at that time, and so it was quite challenging. And I do actually enjoy spending time by myself for the creative, juices to flow and that. But that was almost a little bit over the top for me, and I was quite lonely actually, but it's been like this for me the whole time. Every time I go into sort of like a low vibe sort of state, I've got the puoro to connect with, and then and so I was really lucky. And of course, my whanaunga cousin Mike Cav on my Irish side, he was back in London, and so he said, the whare's there, and and then connecting with you, Tony, and the SOUNZ whānau, and then just with this kaupapa coming up, which I thought was amazing because we were actually physically meant to be in Wellington to do the mahi, but then it changed and it became something more, actually, I feel.
Tautoko.
Yeah, so that in a way, the mahi again sort of saves you, because if you've got too much time idle, it can get pretty, can be touch and go. But yeah, so I like the balance. Like, I really enjoy being with whānau and friends and just people in general sharing the mahi, so if that gets taken away, then your purpose in life is a little bit like, whoa. Yeah, so I found that quite challenging, but at the same time was lucky, so thank you all for that opportunity, and thank you to all the people that took time out to watch those videos and share in that learning, and it's quite nerve-wracking too, because those videos were just me, sharing what I had learned and what I had known, and of course because our culture is so important to us all, you can come under the firing line when you stick your head up like that. So, even that's something. No one seems to be safe from that. But it's good to have an understanding of, what, some of the reasons why that happens, and part of my journey as an artist or cultural practitioner is to be pushed through those boundaries, because those things can actually hold you back. And I think in regards to mental health, I have to be aware of those things so that I can create strategy to be able to survive and be tau in what I'm doing. And so it was a beautiful kaupapa to share those videos, and we're really lucky to be again surrounded. I talk about whānau, it's not just my Māori whānau there, the tautoko, my Pākehā side, there's really, the Irish is really there as well, so and they know all about manaakitanga and all, a lot very similar to Māori whānau actually. So yeah.
Awesome. Ngā mihi ki a koe. I mean, you're not alone, eh? A lot of our artists felt that the isolation and not being able to perform anymore in front of audiences where they would get immediate response and immediate joy or emotional response from. And so no, ka pai you. Ka pai you for being able to do both, like a lot of artists actually can and have to and had to during this time. Yeah, ngā mihi ki a koe. I'd like to kōrero with a bit. You mentioned oro as sound vibration, atua being te taiao, the natural world, whakapapa in the instruments, through the conception of the instruments, through what the instruments are made from emotions and relationships. Quite a big sphere that you talk about in your videos. Could you talk to us about some different settings, ceremonies, if you don't mind, or occasions where different Taonga Puoro are used, and including the tikanga about who are able to play Taonga Puoro?
Oh, God, great question.
Is that too loaded, e hoa? We can simplify.
No, let's keep it plain. I think my first kind of thoughts go to when my grandmother passed away, and then we had a unique, or probably not that unique, I think it happens quite a lot, but then my koro, he passed away probably 2 weeks after. The old, I think he died of a broken heart, actually, losing my nan, and it was so tight, and so what happened was we returned to our marae, which our nan had sort of requested on her parting that she be taken to Winiata marae, and that's a hine manu Ngāti Paki there, hapu there, and so what happened was we had all our puoro, and sort of prior to that I had been using them mostly trying to think more on like how do I weave this into entertainment. And so I had spent a lot of time at home in my earlier days traveling around the kura. That's how I sort of started off, you know, and which is great because, you know, if you, for the kids, if you are not entertaining, they'll let you know very quickly, you know, so.
Honest.
The most honest audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and I did that, and then I went overseas. I toured through South America, actually looking at the different puoro, particularly in Peru. They have very similar Taonga Puoro. They have a type of nguru and that are like our ones as Maori, and then I went to England. So during that time, my whole focus was really about the entertainment side of Taonga Puoro. I wasn't really so focused on whether it was going more into ceremony and I just touch on that because I didn't actually know any of the other Taonga Puoro people that were, you know, practitioners in Aotearoa at the time. That was like late 90s going into the early 2000s. And so I was pretty isolated and kind of just really experiencing my own kind of time with the Puoro.
Right.
And so I didn't know, you know, what you could use them for. So when I returned back home from England, and my grandmother passed away, it was just a natural inclination to be able to start to play the puoro for our nan, and that was the whole thing. So we'd sit around in the evenings mostly with all of our whānau, and we'd share all the puoro, and we would all be playing for our nan around her in the evenings. And so I guess in a way that was part of weaving it into the tangihana ceremony. And then we'd work with the kaikaranga, just ask, oh, is it okay for me to play the pūtātara? And it was all just instinctual, kind of intuitive, you know, how can we whakamana or empower this whole tangihana process for our nan, you know, and whakamana or uplift her celebration of life. And so we wanted to make it big, you know, and that was where I really saw and felt and experienced how when we weaved the puoro into the marae, that was sort of the first place really was the marae, and working with our whanaunga and whānau there, you know, and then one of the nans there was the kaikaranga. She said, oh yeah, well, I'll start and then you can just come in. So it was about working together to revitalise and to re-establish some tikanga around how we used them at the marae, because the Taonga Puoro sort of wasn't taken out, but it did go underground for some time. So there wasn't those examples growing up of, oh, you played the pūtātara here. So we've got to sort of work with our whānau and our kui and kraua about how we do that again. And so that was really co-created with everyone around that, and even to go into the urupa and again playing pūrere hua and then pūtātara at certain times. And so we, in that whole process of going through with our grandmother and then our grandfather, that was kind of the first example of using it in a ceremonial way, not so much about entertainment, but more about, you know, making a beautiful time and a memorable time. What I noticed with my uncles too, some of them were really staunch and they were holding back their tears, and what happened was with the koutou and those different higher sounds, that was, you could see that released them to be able to tangi, you know, and to, yeah, so that was interesting. And one of my uncles, even still to this day, when I see him at tangihana, he will come and say, hey boy, you're not going to play those, you know. I was just give him a hug and a punch in the guts, and you know, I playing those.
Go, yes, I am, Uncle. Now deal with it. Let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got, you know, up in Taihope, that's quite a rural community, so a lot of our whānau out on the farm and all that, they're quite tough people, you know, and it's emotionally as well. It's very can be quite stoic sometimes, and yeah, understandable. We're up there in the snow and in the frosts, and it's freezing, man.
Hence,
But
yeah.
I love our whānau up there. And, yeah, so that was one of the first times. The other times right at the beginning, because I'm sort of going back, was one of my friends was having baby in down in Lyle Bay, and she asked if we could play some of the Taonga Puoro for baby coming into the world. And so that was another time where we, again, working with the people to re-establish these different ways. And really, I guess it's about tuning in and asking our tupuna, our ancestors, is this the right thing to do? And sort of go into that mode where we're reflecting and listening and opening up to the right answers. And it's magic because it comes through and it happens. So yeah, I started off because it was during the contractions that I noticed, I started off trying to play my little koutou, and that's quite a loud sound. I'll just give it a little toot. Yeah, and she told me, nah, that's annoying, it's not helping. And then so then it was like, okay, it must be a deeper sound, and that's when we, thought about the hue puru hau and that deep sort of. And I would just listen to her breathing, and then just make that same pattern, but then slow it down. And and then she said, that sounds really helping. That's helping me with my breathing. And because usually if you go to those booths and there's a maternity nurse, she'll be saying breathe or breathe, reminding them. And so then we replace it with that sound, and then it's quite deep actually, because then the hue puruhau you can use as an ipu or vessel then to put the pito or the whenua in as well, and it just continues, So I'm not too sure if I touched on it in the video, but I had this vision of the whānau are expecting baby and or planning to have baby, and so then I see the picture of the partner planting those seeds for the hue and growing them with that intention, and then harvesting them in time, or storing them and harvesting them in time for when baby comes. And then there's what it gives us a role for the partner at the time to help with the mum with the contraction part, and maybe playing it even before when baby's in the womb. There's a lot of things you can do there, just with that one instrument, the hue puruhau. And that gives a really good example of our pūro. They're not just musical instruments. They're like so much more. There's a real depth and function to them that we're still reigniting, and it just keeps going. It's like a very deep puna of taonga that can be used for our whānau and for our situations, and to acknowledge things and to help. And I think that's a couple of examples.
Well, if you think of more, because I know there are many, do feel free to share. Hey, you're receiving a lot of aroha at the moment. Just thought I'd let you know. Jonathan just let me know too. And a lot of love coming your way. And if you don't mind, I want to share a few questions from some of our composers that are coming in.
Beautiful.
So first of all, we've got one. Do you work with other composers, particularly contemporary or exploratory music composers? If you can you talk about the process with working with other composers? Do you respond to music notation, scores, or is it your approach to be more fluid or improvised, etc., with Taonga Puoro? This is an interesting question, Hoa. We know, because there's a lot of kōrero about this, eh? Kei a koe te wā.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think that's Aaron. Kia ora hoa. That's a beautiful question, and really relevant and timely as well, because obviously Aotearoa soundscape in music is really quite unique, and so I do work with other composers, and I really love that. You know, I enjoy working by myself, but bouncing off someone else creatively is amazing. I was really lucky to work with Brother Tainui Stevens on the Last Deadlands, the series, and I worked with a brother who was based in England at the time, Lachlan Anderson. He's an amazing composer, classical, contemporary, classical, quite new school sort of composer. So he had his orchestra there in London, and at the time I was here in Aotearoa and the Gold Coast. I was sort of touring around, and he would be bouncing me tracks, and then I would be adding to them, you know, to create that soundtrack. So that's kind of the more recent collaboration with another composer. I don't really have a certain way that I do that. It's more about how do I work with that person. Yeah, because people are different in their approach. In regards to notation, I don't know of any notation with the Taonga Puoro that anyone's kind of pulled off in a way that captures it, because the sound's unlimited, you know, and the sound has unlimited potential. So just to go back to my pūtorino, even though I've had this for like nearly 20 years, I'm still getting different sounds from it and different rangi or tunes. And so my style is very much improvisation and feeling it out. It's for me, I find it easier to work if I can hear the other person's music first, and then somehow I've sort of developed that way of working and knowing, oh yeah, it's that instrument's going to work with, you know, that Puoro's going to work with that sound. And what I find a lot too is it might not be exactly the same note, but it works. And so, because we're not in a Western scale really with the Taonga Puoro, and I like staying to the unlimited, because and I don't even know how to read music. I just know what feels right, and so yeah. And there was a queer over in Martin. She told me, "Oh boy, you got to learn how to read the music, because otherwise, when you get older, you're going to lose your memory and then you'll forget." But then I can see the sense in that. But then also too, I don't think I will go into that type of knowledge, because I haven't sort of needed it, and I don't think I'll need it. And what it allows me to be more free, and to be more in line with the style of Taonga Puoro, as opposed to coming from like a Western musical perspective and knowledge based, because I feel like that might lock me in. And yeah, and it's not a whakaatuhia or belittlement on Western music, because I've grown up with that too, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. But just have to be really mindful and think, okay, I'm going to stay over in this area, but I'm always open to working with all different types of music. And I have worked with classical and contemporary music, and, you know, reggae and even rock. You know, just I love working with any type of music. I haven't done any country and western yet, but I'm always keen, you know, and open.
I know you certainly do. Like when you and I first met over in the Solomons, and you just jumped up there and jammed with, and we had fusion te reo Māori music, bilingual music, and you just took a solo, and, you know, just improvised, and it was wonderful collaboration with all the whānau over there. Yeah, totally understand. There's a lot of kōrero and lots of questions coming in. particularly about your rāwahi stuff and working with other cultures. But I just want to take it back slightly, and to our taiohi, our tamariki, and some of our ones that are aspiring in music and are interested in engaging with Taonga Puoro. So if a high school student had no one in their family who was proficient in playing Taonga Puoro, but they were really keen, who could they learn from? And is it only passed down through families? It's one kōrero from a taiohi.
Ah, that's beautiful.
Pātai.
Kia ora mā tērā pātai. Yeah, that's a tricky one, but it's not, it's not a dead end, that's for sure. And even more so now, there's a lot of places on YouTube you can look and sort of see to get some ideas. I would say to our rangatahi and taiohi, the music comes from the nature, so go back to the nature as much as possible, just as a start off, because it's really is, that's the whole inspiration of the music is from those realms, the ngāhere and the moana. We started a online pūro wānanga in November last year, and that was from getting quite a few requests over the years from different whānau out there, including our taiohi and rangatahi. Can we, some people wanted to do apprenticeship and sort of stuff like that, but it thought it would be more accessible for our whānau to create this online wānanga where we look at very similar to the videos we share through the SOUNZ, but perhaps a little bit more in depth, and we look at one instrument, one pūro per week, and then we go into the whakapapa and the pūrākau, and we're using learning videos for that, just sharing my experiences and knowledge at this time around those, all of our pūro. So we look at 36 different ones, and then and so we have the whakapapa pūrākau, then we look at how to make those instruments, and then we look at how to play them, and then the fourth part is about how we may be able to utilize them to help with our own healing or our whānau and community. So so that's and for our rangatahi and tamariki, that's free. For the whānau that are adults, they sort of chip in on a koha basis, which is up to them what they choose to contribute. So we're trying to continue those tikanga of our tupuna like koha and utu, and making it accessible for all of our whānau. The great thing about the internet is that there's no barriers physically. So we have whānau over in England, we've got whānau in America, in Australia, and most of our whānau are here in Aotearoa. So just drop me a message if there's any taiohi or rangatahi or just any whānau, anybody out there that wants to come into the wānanga, then just it's pretty informal. There's nothing real. You just message me, and then I can send you the links, and you can check it out.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful, e hoa. And that's Oro Atua Puoro Māori Sound Healing Journey on Facebook?
Yep.
The whārangi, the page? Ka
Just the
pai.
whārangi, or even just my own one pūro, Jerome.
Rawe,
Just message me through there. Yeah, thank you.
There's lots of different kōrero, but one question is about the usage of Taonga Puoro in the past and the differences between the sounds today. And an interesting one, what's your oldest tune in your repertoire? Where did you find it?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I, like in terms of tupuna, there isn't really that much written about Taonga Puoro, so then we really rely a lot on, like a lot of our culture, the oral traditions and passing down those kōrero. And as far as I'm aware now, in my opinion now, those instruments were primarily used for healing, so they were in the hands of that type of tohunga, to be able to utilize and have the knowledge of, so if we were looking at the different rako or the different types of wood in the forest, those are collating with the different parts of your body. Okay, so when we're talking about physically, then the maire is going to be good for a certain part of your body, maybe your kidney or something like that. What I've experienced is the pūmanawa is good for the heart. If we got Taonga Puoro, so we, the Puoro's been around, and there's been a lot of people that have done the mihi to revive those instruments and bring them back out into the consciousness of our people in practice. But there's a long way to go in regards to reviving the healing potential that those tools or taonga offer for us. And for me, that's just about practicing, listening to different kōrero, getting a little clue, and then putting it to the test. And so I think, and this is just my opinion and my feelings is now, is that our tupuna use those primarily for healing, but not exclusively just for that. Also, of course, in ceremony and in day-to-day function of life. Like the pūkaya could be used to signal to the atua of the environment, to give thanks for the garden, for the mara, maybe at the planting of the mara, the planting of the kai at the time, and then the harvesting. And also at the same time to let the hopu or the whānau, because he's down the road, let them know what's happening, So musically, everyone's tuned into these different soundscapes that were very different to now, because we've got modern sounds, like cars and tooting horns and planes going past. And but in those times, I guess that was very, very peaceful, just natural sounds all the time. So if you were to hear a pūkaya, that could signal something's happening with the mara, or it could also signal that someone's coming through that we're not sure about. Are they coming as a koutou, or they come in as a, so there was a lot of, some of the kōrero I've heard is that there was a ope coming through the ngahere and aroha anyway, and then they were discovered and seen, and then the pūkaya came up, and they heard that sound, and they knew they were busted, and so they just turned around and went home. So, and there's heaps of little kōrero there that are around our Puoro, and I think as a te iwi Māori, there's a lot of kōrero right through the motu. And also the kōrero of our, sort of potu pairehe and waitaha whānau, uruke, those ones that, those in the ngahere that had the pūtorino, and, so that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother kōrero, but it's there, and it's worth bringing up and mentioning, because when we look at our cousins in the Pacific, their Taonga Puoro are quite different to ours. So then, when you come to Aotearoa, it's like, oh, okay, there's another influence there, and of course the environment's a big one. We're not on a sunny island anymore. It's freezing, and
Aye.
Yeah. Sorry, I hope I'm not going on too much, but that's just some of the kōrero tupuna, of those times. I think that was only the first part of that question. What was the other bits?
Oh, no. Kei te pai, because you've mentioned like other questions between the differences between our moana nui a kiva cousins and the type of instruments that they tend to do because of the environment, the mahana, and the pahu is very, or tōkere over there as a pahu, and various other ones. Pate, is very much a part of their musical construct and percussive, whereas our percussive ones tend to be our our pohatu and tumu and
Yeah.
harakeke and all of those sort of things, but more pū, hau,
Yeah,
the
more
hau.
the hau.
Yeah,
There
more the
was a
hau.
kōrero, there was a kōrero from a kuia in Tahiti. I was in Moria last year or the year before, and she had a kōrero around the tupuna that come from Tahiti to here, and she talked about them leaving behind the pahu and the pate because those were used at the time for warring sounds, and there was a lot of warring there for 50 years or so. This was her kōrero. And then she said that our tupuna that come to Aotearoa, they left behind that sound because of the connection with the war, you know. So they wanted to leave behind that, and that was her kōrero. But you know, we still have big pahu that are in the hollowed out of trees. You know, they're really big, sort of gong. But yeah, nothing like the kazi's pate and that really fast, beautiful sound. You know, it's really different, but still connected. And yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's history and our genealogy and whakapapa and connections, relationships is very interesting, very interwoven.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask a question from one of our other composers about if you'd be able to share a little bit more insight, wisdom you have been already with the composers that are not Māori and who wish to respectfully include Taonga Puoro in their compositions. They would like to genuinely engage with Māori, ngā tikanga, and the knowledge and understanding and practical experience that are essential for the best consultation process within our treaty partnership. Piha tō whakaaro.
Oh, that's a beautiful question.
Another loaded question, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like, I think we talked about this a long time ago. Like, it's always when you're expressing your view, it's good to know that this is just my view, you know.
Ai,
So,
ai, kwena,
and,
kwena.
and I'm not speaking on behalf of all the other Taonga Puoro practitioners or Māori at all. It's just me, you know, like speaking. Yeah, that is a beautiful question, and I love that that's happening in Aotearoa because in my travels, when I go away and I look at other Indigenous iwi take, they don't really get that same kind of like respect. Like I feel like in the States, you know, it's like you know they're really like invisible. You know, and that's so when we come to Aotearoa, it's not about being lucky. I don't think it's just about where we're at. You know, so it's a nice place to be at, and that question reflects that. And so my simplest answer is seek out a Taonga Puoro player. You know, and there's a lot, you know, out there at different levels, and but I think you know that needs to sort of happen as those people need to be. You know, you need to look for those people out there, and I don't think it's that hard to find. I think the state of Taonga Puoro is, you know, in a pretty good place, in that we have a lot of beautiful practitioners, both Tāne and Wahine, and Tāne, you know, that have a lot to offer, and I think it's good to be able to collaborate with those people. And get the kōrero firsthand, you know, get the kōrero from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Ai, tika.
And I like that it's an approach of respecting that, and because we've got to be a bit careful about appropriating, you know, other cultures, you know, and I think in relation to sometimes I notice some of our Pākehā whānau are very keen, you know, and so they'll be almost a little bit too keen and they might miss things. So just take your time and go slow. Like most Indigenous are very like taking our time, you know, like that's why we're always late and things like that. Like, you know, but it's because it's worth it. It's worth taking the time, you know. So one in our wānanga we actually have non-Māori in there. We've got about 20% of our wānanga out of 100, and I think we're up to 120 nearly now. So 20% of them are non-Māori, and we have a really big focus on sure, utilize our Taonga Puoro and the way that we've revived those and brought those back out in a modern time. And come in and be a part of that, you know. But also to look at taking those processes and then look at where your tupuna are from. You know, like look at reviving the Irish. There's tin whistles and bodhrums, and I know because I go back there to look at that because that's part of me too. In a way of honouring our tupuna by participating in the Taonga Puoro Māori, but then also in the wānanga, there's always an encouragement to, okay, now that you know how to do that, what's something similar? Because once we strip it all back in the history of humanity, all the people were indigenous and were once, you know, living in harmony with the nature and identified. What we identify today as indigenous would be, you know, when I look at my own Irish roots,
Society.
they had their own reo, and it was all based around like a paganism, looking at nature and different deities of nature. And so even though now, you know, it's on my Pākehā side, there's Irish, and then we look at, you know, but pre-religion, that was all earthly worshipping, you know. But I think, and I hope this answers the question. I think, you know, just take your time and seek those people that have done the mihi out there and have been around for a long time. And I could start like mentioning all my mates' names in there, but you know, there's a big group of beautiful Taonga Puoro practitioners that would be jump at the chance, I'm sure, to work with an orchestra. Like, I haven't done that yet in Aotearoa. I've done it over in England and in the States, but I haven't had that opportunity yet here. And so I know it's an exciting time because that question's popping up. So those composers out there that aren't Māori, that are looking around who's around, then there's opportunities there, and I think that can be a win-win for everybody. But if we skip out the people, that's a lose for us, you know, really. And I'm not saying that's happening, but I'm just, you know, it's just a great, exciting time for collaboration and partnership. And I think, I'm not sure if it was this question or the one before about the treaty partnership, you know, we can do
This
that
question.
musically quite easily. Oh yeah, this question. Yeah, so the key to it is collaboration and on the level, because I think sometimes, you know, part of the colonization, and it's a bit of a mamai kōrero, it's a bit of a tough one to talk about, but I'll just put it straight out there, is that sometimes I can walk into a situation and because of what I'm perceived as, then there can be that thing where you're getting talked down to, you know, and then it's like, for me, that is a practice of colonization. Like, and I'll try not to do that myself, even with a little kid, like, I'm trying to like keep it on the level all the time, because I feel like that's a better way to be, you know. So I have to be aware of my conditioning and growing up as Māori in Aotearoa, what that means, and so everyone else has to do that too. You know, we have to like look at how have I been conditioned, and is that going to be beneficial for this partnership and the way that we're practicing that. And I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Whakamana te tangata e, kare e whakaiti. So just always acknowledging the value in others and never judging by one's cover, or making assumptions or profiling or any of that sort of stuff, which happens all around the world. Nera. Yeah. Because you've had some experience with First Nations whānau, eh? And elsewhere sharing their knowledge. And so, well, what kind of experience has that been for you? You've already touched on it, but whakawhānau.
Probably my more recent one was being with a group called Small Island Big Song, and so that was the Austronesian connection, which is the Pacific, but also goes up into Southeast Asia, and then right across to Madagascar. So there was I toured around for a couple of summers in Europe, and in Asia as well. With that, there was sort of 12 of us from different sort of tribal areas of the Pacific, right to Rapa Nui, right up into Taiwan, Solomon Islands, Madagascar, Indonesia, some West Papua, and yeah, that's amazing to be with our other Indigenous people. Is sort of, for me right now anyway, is that's the ultimate to make music. And that group was other Taonga Puoro practitioners of the world and of those tribes. So they all brought their different instruments as well. And what's amazing is you start to see the same kōrero coming through, even though that one's all the way in Madagascar, or that the brothers all the way in Rapa Nui or up in the Solomons. But so our instruments are always about the environment, so, and we would come together. We would have a song each, and then we would all sing each other's, learn each other's languages and sing with each other in each other's languages. And you see how rapid that happened, how fast you can pick up on another reo, and even the words. Manu is a big one that goes right through, even taringa, counting from tairua turuwharimo, ono te kau. That's exactly the same in a lot of those other places. Even up in Taiwan, there's a tribe up there, Mis, and their language is so close to ours. And when we go back there, they're very welcoming and they know the connection. So this is a 5,000-year-old, probably even longer, older connection. And so to come back in a modern time with all those people who are representing their tupuna, it's a really magical experience. And then just go on tour through Europe is even more. It's tough going with a big group like that, but it's pretty amazing, and I'll never forget that time. And those people now are family for life. So we got whānau all over the place. And you mentioned before going to the Solomon Islands. That was amazing to see all our other cousins, and I start to really have that view of connection, like how are we actually connected, because most of the upbringing and the education system we've all gone through has been about separatism, and this is, you stay in that lane, and it's not really a truthful thing that we've been educated in, because actually when you look, it's really clear, and that we are really connected in a time where there was no borders. I mean, most of our tupuna, whether we're Māori or not, or we're all sailing, everyone's sailing everywhere and just pulling in and interacting. And I think, man, now look at us, we've got to get a visa, we've got to get so I think it comes back to the kotahitanga for me, and that was important for me to see and feel that with our other Indigenous people, but then it keeps extending out, and that's the unity, I think. Yeah.
Very important, to remember those connections and those relationships, right back to papatua nuku, rangi nui, our first mother, our first father, those type of things about remembering. That's one of the key themes that I heard you saying throughout your videos. Always remember, reawaken, even lifting the frequencies and those wonderful kōrero and whakapapa. And you're right, it's about our relationships and how we relate to each other, how we connect with one another, which is different to partnerships, nera. Different philosophies.
That's true.
And likewise within the arts, within music, within this art form of Taonga Puoro, I think some of our... Have you ever thought about going into the mental health units?
I worked with some whānau in Wanganui. They got a sort of like a maximum security. I don't know if you should call it that, but it's a very, So I went in there quite some years ago to work alongside our whānau in there, which was, you know, it's beautiful sharing in any setting, but I think I'm really interested in that, and also with our whānau that are in jail as well, to bring the outside in, you know, because it's, you know, like you just see and feel like what it's like in those spaces, and sometimes it's well, it was tough for me to go in there, but then I could leave, you know. So but you know, the Puoro definitely has a place in all those different spaces too, and it's really, I feel like the potential of being able to help all people is there, and because they come from the nature, then you're bringing the nature into those spaces through the sound. And I don't really know how to articulate it that well, but I know the power of it and the magic of it. Yeah, so I think there's more and more of that happening now too, around the motu, the different whānau that are, you know, weaving it into different spaces like that. And you sort of saw over the COVID too, like how that increased, you know, all of our cultural tools and taonga, it just started to get pump out more and more, hey, under quite a high pressure situation.
Aye.
Yeah.
Full on. We had to support one another, eh? I know that that's
Yeah.
what that was our outset for here, for Sounds, was to support our composers, support, promote, tautoko, just try and bring something back to them in that very difficult time when all, you know, public performance went out. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's a real, it's an interesting one, and I just go back to your kōrero that was throughout most of your videos about remembering, reawakening, and I think that's a real key theme. And even just like how various instruments that you played were different manu, or the rākau, or the sounds of the, you know, the taiao, the natural world. It's about remembering all of that, and then the waters on the outside, the waters on the inside, and reawakening. And I think it just adds to our overall well-being, health and well-being. And I know watching Oro Atua again this morning was just wonderful, and very meditational, very healing, and there's lots of kōrero still coming in, e hoa, but I'm going to just switch it slightly again to how do you find performing? You mentioned that you hadn't had the opportunity in Aotearoa, but in ensembles with instruments from other cultures. You have mentioned other indigenous, but notably with European orchestral instruments, if you've had that experience.
Yeah, I mean, I love it all. My first experience working with an orchestra was when I lived in London and worked with a composer from LA. His name's Kristen, and yeah, we were lucky. He wanted to create an album, or he did create an album that was about the movement of the day from the night into the light, and then back into the night again. And what he did was really clever. Was he wanted the songs to be from languages that had survived the test of colonization and was still alive. And so there was a Maori track, and there was different ones, Polish and African, India, you know, so there was different representation. And then for those that had instruments, the challenge was to be able to weave it into the orchestral style of producing music. So I just went back to the poi harakeke, different poi sort of beats and sounds, and then tokere, just really simple. And it was more about the rhythm, so that's how we wove that in. But that was a long time ago now, and then And because that album went on to win 2 Grammys in
I was going to
2011.
say, you have a Grammy.
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Ka mautiwihi. Gee. Tell us
Well,
about that, e hoa. For those of us that will probably could never, but might, you just never know. I'm not saying myself, but people, the whānau out there. Yeah.
oh, it was just a lucky right time at the right place. So I was part of Ngāti Rānana at the time, and yeah, with that whānau, we'd always get manuhiri coming in because we'd pōhiri them in every Wednesday, and that still happens over there
Yeah.
in London, and it would be different people from different cultures and places of the world coming in to be a part of the culture and that. And there was Chris came in, and his ethnicity is Chinese, but he's been brought up in LA in America. And so he came in and just presented an opportunity. I'm wanting to record a song in Māori, and I'm looking for people to sing in Māori. And that's so I went and introduced myself after the pōhiri, and then showed him my puoro, and then he said, "Oh, I'd like to meet up with you again another time." So I met him over in Greenwich, and then he was like, because I didn't really know much about his project, but then he was like, "Oh, we've got the Soweto Gospel Choir coming, and we're gonna record in Abbey Road Studio." So then I was like, "Oh, okay, this is a bit of a serious one," and the London Philharmonic Orchestra came. The Royal, like the Queen's Orchestra. And so we recorded in there, and we're just working alongside the choir to be able to sing in Māori. And then for some reason, the whānau Ngāti Rānana weren't keen on doing that job. So I was just like, okay, well, the Soweto Gospel Choir will do.
Oh,
So that was cool, and I think some of our whānau came in and we wove in some haka vocals, and we did. They wanted some solo parts, so then I ended up because I'm not really the greatest singer, and so
you got a
I
nice
was.
tone, e hoa. You do.
Oh,
You do.
Well, that means a lot coming from you,
Yeah.
Tony.
Very resonant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was looking for like what is our vocal style, and for me, whai kōrero was one style of vocal that I loved listening to growing up, and learning, and so then I really was looking at that style of vocal, and more like a whai kōrero. So then we wove that into the song, and then that became part of an album, and then that album went on to win 2 Grammys, and which was amazing. Like once we had done and dusted that, you sort of forget about it, and then Chris come back to me and said, "Oh, we've been nominated for a Grammy," and it's like,
Hey.
wow, yeah. And then here's the link. This is the live link for the thing, and then we seen it because I was in Aotearoa and he was collecting the Grammy, the two of them, and at the Grammy Awards in 2011. So it was a buzz to see that, and to know that we had done our best as far as weaving reo Māori in there, putting Taonga Puoro in there, putting our, something that was more like a Māori vocal style, or part of that in there, and then just winning was like, it was pretty. A lot of people didn't really believe me. Like my family were like the Grammys in in
America.
is there one in New Zealand?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Whānau.
it's not really much of a difference really. It's just good to have on the CV, and I think it's good to. I feel like it's good for us to represent and be in there, and I know a lot of other Māori have gone on to do things like that. But I just feel lucky to be, because I was at the time I was just like little old me, so. So yeah, it's that's been cool, and we go back to New York every couple of years and performed at Carnegie Hall, and the last time was Lincoln Center. And part of my American tour this year was to go back to Lincoln Center again, which those are big orchestral venues, you know, where they have, when we come back together, we've got a full orchestra and we've got a all-American all-star choir, which is like 300 people, and they're all singing in Māori, and they've all been practicing for months and months. And, you know, and then I go on the stage for about 3 minutes and it's all over. But and our Māori song is the last song on the album, so we're always the last song in there, and it's the big grand finale, you know. And that's buzzy because, you know, like after people bring you flowers, and it's all part of that whole
tikanga.
Yeah, their tikanga, and it's like, wow, you know, like, because I feel like at home we're quite humble sort of people. We're just happy to go and have a cup of tea, you know, like, or a cake or
Good
something.
old herbal tea. Herbal tea.
Peppermint tea or something.
Yeah. Kawa kawa.
Yeah, kawa.
Hey, so another bit of a kōrero question here. How do you evaluate sound, and such as recognizing when a sound is good or not? How about the timbre? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I suppose I say to the whānau and the wānanga, if you're getting a sound from your kōwairo, then that's the sound, you know, like, because, you know, I've done it before. It's like, because we've grown up predominantly sort of on a Western scale of music, then we're very influenced by that. And what sound, there's this thing of what sounds good and what sound doesn't sound good. But I feel like going back to the essence of Taonga Puoro, it is the sound of nature. So I'm not going to put that judgment on whether that's, you know.
Ka pai.
Yeah, so, and that's just part of keeping it free flowing. Of course, if I'm working with some other musicians, then I want to try and, you know, I don't want it to sound like too far away, you know, that it's not going to blend in with that music. So that's my focus, is what's going to blend in with that music nicely and make that music, you know, stand up and feel nice together.
Aye.
Yeah, and yeah, so I'm just really listening as much as possible, yeah, to whether that. And sometimes with puoro, it's not necessarily about having too much, you know, because that's something I've learned as well, is sometimes just a little weenie bit at the right moment is like amazing, you know, but then you can overkill it a bit too if I keep going. And I think that's something to be aware of, because we've been reviving the puoro, and so then you really want it to be in there, but, you know, I have to be mindful, like, to not too much, because just because we're trying to get these instruments out there doesn't mean that I'm going to try and drown out the other people. Yeah,
It's like
know,
when different instrumentalists, like, say it's a vocally led song, because, you know, that's my
yeah,
you know, my particular area, and when other instrumentalists overplay the vocal when it's a vocally led song. Yeah, same type of thing. Yeah, it's about being generous, it's about listening, it's about blending, and again, collaborating, isn't it? And again, whakamana others, you know, uplifting others, and then the whole art form is uplifted. So just for some of our whānau, some of our audience that want to get started in Taonga Puoro, and I see another wonderful question from the whanaunga, which I'm going to combine with another question here. So some of our whānau would like to know how they can get started. Can they experiment with objects in nature, and how they can make their own Taonga Puoro? And the whanaunga says that the making of the Taonga Puoro must be a creative process. So any kōrero and wisdom that can be shared about what that process is to those that are new to te ao Taonga Puoro. I hope those questions are clear. Aroha mai.
Yeah, there's a lot of our puoro that you can just naturally find, and I'm just going to pull up an example. So these little sea snails or the pupurangi. Yeah, you can find those at the beach, and you want to find one that's got a round lip. So and wherever you go, there are different shapes. This one's actually from Panama. I was with iwi taketake there, and they said I could take that one back to Aotearoa. And these
Wow.
are really, this is another one, but it's more, it's from up to Hapua. This is the pupu harakeke. It is on the flax, but the snail shells, they're really, even a common garden snail, you can play their shells. And if I'm not having a feed of boo-boos, then I don't take them. If that's someone's home, I'll just leave it. But sometimes you find them empty. And and that's just about blowing across the edge here. So you've got to seal your lips right around and then leave a little space for you to blow across the edge. So I'm just... And it might sort of take a bit of experimenting, like, and move it around a bit. And it's quite nice if you're by yourself down the beach there, or if you go with the kids, you can take them, and it makes the going to the beach a little bit different because we're looking for pupurangi. And they're really quite simple, but not that easy to play, but you'll get there if you sort of stick with it. I think because what I noticed with a lot of our tamariki is they'll pick them up and for like 2 seconds, it's not working, because everything's so instant now. So what it's good for, I find, with all of our whānau is about the resilience and the sticking to it and the determination and not giving up. And you will be rewarded with the song from the pupurangi, eventually. And sometimes I hear people say, I mustn't be meant to be, Taonga Puoro person. And it's like, wow, it's, I feel like what I notice in the museums that I work in overseas, and is a lot of our puoro have latches, so that shows that our tupuna wore them, like this one that I'm wearing. And so there's, I think it was, some of our puoro was quite commonplace. I know, talking with some of the Taonga Tākoro people in our traditional Māori games, the koutou was used, like in Kiorahi, to signify different moves, and all the players had a koutou, so that was their way that they would tell everyone we're going to do this certain type of moves. So there's a lot of examples of how they were quite commonplace. And I think koutou and pupurangi and those more simple ones are good ones to start off with. If you can play this, you will be able to play most of the puoro, and so it's a good one to start off with. And of course, just like I was saying before, if you want to come into the wānanga, it's open for anybody and everyone, and you can just get in touch, and we can work it out. And you can, if you want to go in deeper, then that's options available there.
Great.
And that's been beautiful. But I think tutu is a good one. Of course, I've experienced tutu, and you're having tutu, and it's not, it's not a good tutu. You know what I mean? Like, or you'll get in trouble or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just experimenting is kind of the best way, and taking time to be in the pūtaiao and
take your time.
Just take
reconnect.
Your time.
Yeah, that's reconnect. Take your time. Remember.
I remember. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think I just wanted to add quickly, all of the mātaurangas in our toto as well, it's in our whakapapa. Yeah, we can access that. But you need the time and you need the space, and it's most of the time it's quiet, So quiet time's good, and we can get those downloads,
And that there's value, whether you're Māori, non-Māori, other iwi, other nations, there there is an indigenous form of instrument that is from your culture too. So that's to be valued, to be researched, to participate in. I guess a lot of our Western composers being here in Aotearoa, those are some of the key things. You know, there's a bit of apprehension, not sure how to go about it with the tikanga, but we talked about that before. So
Yeah.
what you're saying is that Oro Atua is a way, the Wānanga series, the Puoro Māori sound healing Wānanga series is a way that you can engage, and you're one practitioner and there's a pool of many practitioners or in Aotearoa. Would you say that? Would you say that there's many or that developing still?
I think it's still developing, but it's in regards to the whānau that are out there that could come in, play alongside an orchestra or co-compose or be part of that. I think there's a good amount of whānau there that can offer that and be a part of that collaboration. And I want to express my aroha to those composers that are out there that are looking to do that and that are talking about what is the right tikanga and right way to do it. I think that's beautiful. And I want to thank you all for those that are looking and wanting to do things properly and honour that art form and bring that art form in, because while it's in a pretty good place, there's still not a lot known about it in the general public, so I'm always interested in being able to take it into like a mainstream space and weave it into there, so then it starts to become normal. And I think there's a lot of people that are on that, helping out with that, and SOUNZ is one classic example of that, really helping out with that kaupapa, because we still, it's helpful to get that support, and it's exciting to think of what might come in the future, and even
And we also have a good amount of tāne wahine, taonga composers, Taonga Puoro composers, performers out there in Aotearoa.
I think there's more probably tāne than there are wahine, and one question I get asked a lot too is, are wahine allowed to play these? And it's for me, of course you want to check in with your hapu and your iwi, and because we're not, there's different rules and different tikanga, but I feel like, there's our atua of the puros, rauka tauri, pū te hui, it's a very, there's a lot of, atua wahine that are part of, a big part of that. So I always say, yeah, of course, and I feel like we do sort of need more wahine practitioners. It would be nice to get more of a balance in that way, and I don't know why it's happened like that, but I guess I just want to support and tautoko any wahine of our wahine and our whānau out there that want to pick those up and get amongst it too.
Aye. Well, I know that amongst our 7 Taonga Puoro composers that are of Māori descent here with SOUNZ, 3 of them are wahine. And but yeah, you're right. All those tikanga and kawa questions, which come essentially from your own whānau and your own rohe, eh? And as we come, can you believe it, toward the end of our hour and a half, kōrero, thank you so much, Jerome. Thank you so much for coming. E mihi kawana ki a koe mo tō pūmanawa ki te kaupapa, me tō pūkenga mo te kaupapa mo Taonga Puoro. Nō reira, he mihi aroha tēnei ki a koe. Mai te whānau o Toi Te Ara Puoru Sound Centre for New Zealand Music. Kia koe, he mihi mahana, he mihi aroha, he mihi maioha, kia koe. Before you finish off with the beautiful array of puoro and perhaps a waiata whakamutunga, whakakapi. Do you have any final words, or what are you up to next?
What am I up to next? Well, that's, I just want to tuku waka hoki ngā mihi mai o haki o koutou, to return the acknowledgement back to the SOUNZ whānau, and I can't wait to come in and meet you all in the office very soon. What's next for me? This is the kind of whakakapi tēnei kaupapa. This is the end of this beautiful kaupapa, which is awesome and sad at the same time. But thank you all so much for creating that. I'm gonna be continuing on with doing a lot of recording mahi now. So for different, I'm working with a company in India that's creating an app, like a wellness app. So I've got that project going, and another similar one in Canada. What else? What has it got on my board here? Oh, continuing with the online wānanga, which always keeps me busy. That's sort of like almost like a full-time job, which I need to sort of put more attention and time into now that I've actually got a house. And just spending more time with the whānau too. I think I was working too much and away too much, and so it's been a good time to step back and reflect. And I think for me, that's why the tupuna sent through this mahi where I can stay home, which I'm really grateful for. I think I'm looking forward to Matariki coming up and just seeing what everyone's up to, and just a haere tonu and mahi ata mahi. That's that's my
Oh, koira. No, well, thank you so much. And of course, anyone out there can see all of Jerome's wonderful videos that he has shared. There's 11 all in total, starting off with oroatua and introductions to Jerome and his own journey to oroatua, his introduction to his own journey towards various Taonga Puoro, and the kōrero about the whakapapa of the instrument and why it's named what it's named, its personal name, its ceremonial use, its healing use, its entertainment use. Very, very interesting, and I would encourage you all to watch the videos, have a wānanga watching those wānanga. And one of our whānau wanted to know if you're on Spotify. I know you are on Spotify, oroatua. Is that right? You are?
Yep, it's just on the oroatua and Puoro Jerome. It's on Spotify and YouTube and iTunes and all those platforms there. So yeah, we're gonna look at making another one pretty soon too. So.
Oh, awesome! Yay!
Yeah.
Kia ora TMP, ka pai. CNZ, whatever, NZ on air, ka pai. Well, just in our last little bit of time, just hopefully we don't cut off, I'd like to leave it with the puoro with you, and kaia koe te wā mo te kōrero whakakapi, whakamutunga. Kia ora tātou.
Oh, kia ora. He kōrero poto, mau i aroha ki a tātou katoa from all our beautiful whānau at SOUNZ, and myself and our whānau of Puoro here. Kai te mihi, kai te mihi, kai te mihi. Whiti, ora aroha e. Pūrere hua, rere rona hau. Papa ki parirau, rere rona hau. Ka piki,
rungara wai.
Papa ki
pari hau, rere runga hau.
Pūrere hua,
Pūrere hua. Kia ora e
Kia ora,
hoa.
Tony. Thank you so. Kia ora.
Ngā mihi ki a koe.
whānau.
Kia ora whānau. Mo te mātakitaki mai. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is going to be posted on our Facebook and our YouTube, so you can re-watch and watch many, many times. I'm Tony Huata, the Director of Māori Music. Ko au te kai hautu Puoro Māori o Toi Te Ara Puoro SOUNZ. Tēnā koutou katoa.